Hey, 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 what's going on, Detroit and surrounding areas, and everyone listening under the sound of my voice, all the way in Nigeria? I have people listening, and I am humbled and I am grateful. So, I hope everyone had the opportunity to do some things for Juneteenth. I was a little bit disgusted with Facebook. They didn't even have a Juneteenth background or whatever they call the mechanism. If it's Christmas time, your avatar can have Christmas attire, and other holidays your avatar can change, and they have backgrounds and things of that nature, and there wasn't one for Juneteenth. So I'm a little bit disgusted by that, but that's the reason why we need our own stuff as a result of that. However, that leads me to tonight's topic. We're going to be talking about from pain to power. Tula and I had a brief conversation before he left out, and he talked about how our black men were emasculated as far back as slavery with buck breaking. So they did a lot of things to our black men in front of our black women to break the man, because they felt like if they broke the man and he was supposed to be the strongest in the family, that they can automatically break down the structure of our family. And the Willie Lynch letter has proven to be true, because years later we still have dysfunction in our families as a result of the post-traumatic slavery disorder that has moved through generations. But nobody really still quite talks about that in the sense of our black women. And I don't mean this in any other way, but honestly, because that's what I am, black women weren't given any other choice but to be strong in the situation of buck breaking and watching our men be broken in front of us during the times of slavery, getting into bad relationships or incompatible relationships with men and ending up having children and having to raise them alone, and many other forms of that. So my guest tonight is Tracey, and Tracey has her podcast, Business and Vibes, but that's not the hat she's wearing tonight, because she has a lot of things coming under the umbrella of From Pain to Power. Say hello to everyone, Tracey.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tracey Ilene from Release Pain to Power. Thank you for having me tonight.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And release is a key word in her title, because that's what we need as a release, but an effective release, because there have been a lot of ways throughout history where we could release things. Sex is a release.
Yes.
Alcohol is a release. Profanity is a release. But how productive can those things be over time? So the first time I remember experiencing a very painful experience was with my mom. My mom was my first God, because anything that happened to me, I go to my mom, she would take care of it. I skinned my knee, she'd put a Band-Aid on it. I'm hungry, she fed me. But then she also became my first devil, because that was the first negative, emotionally damaging interaction that I had. My father, real father, was not there with me, and I didn't meet him until I was 30 years old, but I knew nothing about that during this period of time that I'm speaking of. So most of my first experiences with pain happened in my household and had a lot to do with my mom. As time went on, if I had any painful or negative experiences that had to do with anyone else, they were still internalized because of the old adage, what goes on in my house stays in my house. So I'm going to have a very candid conversation with my guests, and we're going to talk about that pain. And then we'll get to how to release that pain and turn it into power. But pain is more complex than I think we tend to own up to.
Yes.
So, Tracey, express what that looks like to you.
Everyone has a story, and it's a different story, a different path. Pain comes in many forms, shapes, and fashions. I can literally look at a picture on social media and I can see that individual, see through that individual smile that there's pain. And you can, if you have an example, you see a husband and a wife, you can look that there's problems in that situation, in that marriage perhaps, because how close they are, eyes, contact, all of that. For me, from a young girl coming into adulthood, I had several pains in my life from sexual abuse from two individuals that I know, from not knowing who my biological father is, but being raised by a man that I call my dad today. Divorce pain after being married for 26 years and 5 months. Being shot in addition to that, and wasn't the cause of mine. I was literally sleeping in my bed. My sister's death in 2017, the day before my birthday. Attempted suicide when I was married, before I had children. Finding out when I delivered having a venereal disease, prior to my delivery, excuse me, and reinventing myself at 57.
Wow.
I know I said a lot, but those are my pain points. And today, I hope that I'm healed, but in reality, I haven't forgotten. I would seek counsel prior to my marriage. I seek a therapy after the divorce. I seek therapy after my sister's death. And I just stopped therapy a month ago. And also, that was private, those are all private sessions, but I also went to a therapy session where it was group therapy. That was the best for me, to see other people and you're thinking you have problems. But that was a 2-week outpatient therapy group that I attended in 2007 after my sister passed away.
Well, first of all, I salute and respect you. Thank you for trusting me with your story and that information. I, too, am a molestation survivor. I feel that when that occurs, there are so many questions that people have. Well, why did you wait so long? I don't think people have had things happen to him. First of all, what I just said before, what happens in this house stays in this house. True. But if a communicative relationship has not been established with the members who are in that house, who are you going to tell? You're not going to tell anyone outside because you've been threatened basically and scared to death to say anything to anyone else. And if your household is not indicative of having the type of conversations that's centered around it. Hell, nobody even talked about sex, let alone sexual assault. I saw a movie at school that my mother signed a permission slip for. That was about 20, 30 minutes. And next thing I knew, I was at the health department getting a bag of pills. Ain't nobody talked to me about sex. So if none of those things occurred, what is going to lay the foundation to the degree that I'm comfortable talking about sexual assault? I'm not going to talk about it. It's painful. It's triggering. And you're asking a child, I was in my senior year in high school, so you're asking me to talk about something that I really fully didn't understand. Why that even occurred and happened to me. It's a generational curse, and it's happened to many more people than who care to disclose for a myriad of reasons, but that's one pain that will lead to serious depression. That causes problems later on down the road in relationships that you have with other people. I am on the opposite end of you, Tracey, when it comes to the mental health, because I have anxiety. So I didn't have the depression part. I had the anxiety, which is just as paralyzing.
It is.
I was agoraphobic. I couldn't even stand to hear a clock tick.
Oh, wow.
To that degree. I had just purchased a brand new convertible when I had my first anxiety attack. And I wouldn't drive it. And everyone was like, oh, if I had that car, I'd drive it. Don't you think I want to drive my damn car?
Right.
I want to drive my car too. But people don't understand what pain will do to you. It will paralyze you.
Sure will.
You will internalize a lot. You don't want to talk. You will be emotionally paralyzed and numb.
That is true. And you said a lot of key words, but my sexual abuse started from at 12 years old. And then it stopped, and I don't recall when it stopped. But then it began again at age 16 to 23. And I don't like the word victim, but victims don't want to talk about it because people don't believe them. Mm-hmm. Of course, you're humiliated, you're embarrassed, but they don't believe you. And then after you talk about it, nobody's going to want you around them. You're just dirty. You don't mean anything, especially when it's related within our family.
Yes. Yes. And I call them survivors.
I love that word.
Yeah, survivors. And another reason why is because once you survive something, it's very traumatic to go back and experience that.
It is.
Even verbalizing. It's another form of PTSD. That's why veterans don't want to hear gunshots at 4th of July. It reminds them of combat. So there are certain things that also trigger survivors. I think going to therapy is good because what happens? You get a chance to talk. You get to unravel those layers.
Yes.
And talk about the pain.
And unfortunately, within our culture, there's a lot of pride. That's what we don't do. That's a generational curse. And then they internalize it, but for me, it helped me because why not talk about yourself for 45 minutes and just not be judged?
Because that's hard to do, and I still have a hard time talking about myself, as accomplished as I am and have worked all around this world, as far as China. But when someone says, hey, well, give me your CV, whatever, I don't want you reading all of that stuff about me. I'll tell them like, no. And they think I forget to give it to them sometimes. Now, there are cases where I present it.
Okay.
Put me in a room with a bunch of white men that think I'm just this little black girl coming out. Read all of them pages so you know what you're dealing with. But other situations, I don't, and I'm still not comfortable talking about myself. The other thing, the church is supposed to be a place of refuge historically. Everything you go to the church, well, we gonna pray this out of you. You can't pray away from no trauma from molestation. You can't pray that away. It ain't no oil that's gonna make that go away. And a lot of times because those same things happen, I know a pastor serving time right now, decades, for sexually assaulting one of their young church members.
Oh, wow. So that's not a safe place.
So it's not a safe. So where is the safe space to even disclose any of that stuff? right?
Right.
So I salute you and applaud you for getting counseling. I've been, when I had my agoraphobic attack with anxiety, I went as well.
And that anxiety is a. I had only time I had depression is after my sister passed away because I had helped raise my sister, my siblings, but it was the anxiety for me, and anxiety feels so uncomfortable. It's not a great feeling. It's not a great feeling. And I actually got off my anxiety meds last year thinking I was okay. But then my mentor, my brother, friend, he passed away last October, the day after my birthday. So now at this point, I have someone that's very close to me the day before my birthday because my sister passed away 2017, the day before my birthday. Now my best friend, mentor, pastor friend passed away the day after my birthday. My anxiety started up again.
Mm-hmm.
So now what I'm doing, I went to see a Chinese herbalist and acupuncture because I'm determined to get off.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, that serotonin imbalance, for those who are listening and watching and don't really understand that, serotonin is a chemical inside of your brain, and it's a natural chemical there. That's what makes us happy, and that's what makes us sad. And if you have an imbalance, then that means you have more of one than the other. That's why people who suffer from anxiety and depression are on the same medication, because it is about balancing the serotonin in your brain so that your emotions work naturally how they are supposed to. And so as a result of that, that's what the medication is for. Then you couple that with cognitive behavioral therapy, whether that's medication or staying the hell away from the people that work your nerves. That's therapy too.
Absolutely.
You know, people say, "Oh, that's your blood." Not if you're doing stuff to me. Not if you have to put some barriers around your mental health to begin to heal. Pain has numerous forms to it. Words hurt, actions hurt, neglect hurts, anxiety hurts, depression hurts, breakups, death, so much pain that women really have to endure.
That is true because not only we're enduring all the pain, we're managing households that includes children, animals, the husband or the significant other, and then we're holding down jobs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for myself, I worked, put my education to the side, raised two sons, had the husband as well, managing the household. So we have to be strong as women.
Mm-hmm.
And we as women have a tendency of forgetting about ourselves and putting ourselves to the side. Oh, we'll get to myself. Well, you'll get to you, Tracey. You'll get to you. Okay. I didn't, when I was married, I had my first son at 29. I was in college. I put my education to the side. I went back 15 years later during a recession and divorcing and got my education for my bachelor's. So I put that to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Then in 2020, I wasn't working. I went back and got my master's. But now I'm 58 this year. So I had to wait to get my education because we're the ones that's going to the grocery store. We want to go to parent teacher conference. We're doing it all. And I'm not saying that I didn't have a good husband, but believe it or not, I had a great husband in comparison. And my children to this day still has a great father.
Mm-hmm.
But still, as women, what did your mother say? How did your mother feel about that? That's what the father tells the sons.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to hold it down.
And that's painful in a sense. And I don't mean painful in the form of regrets. Just painful
Right.
that there are things that you would want to do for self-care. Moms get no days off.
They
Moms
don't.
get no days off. You're on 24/7 7. If you have a support system and someone can babysit for you or assist and stuff like that. But mothers have to figure it out. Now, fathers do too. You know, fathers are providers, and especially in the role of a husband, they're providers, and they have to make sure that the money is being made and that things are handled. But running that household is like running a business. Running a marriage is like running a business. And that mother is on duty, like she said, making sure the kids get to school, parent teacher conference, groceries, and all of that stuff. But there are some households that run like partnerships, and I'm not negating that. But there is a lot of responsibility that falls on a woman. And I hear a lot of people diminish the role of a housewife. Or she just a stay at home mom, just a stay at home mom. Let me see if you can do it with 4 kids for one day. 4 little stair steps, 2 that you got to go pick up from school and take to school. You got to come home and you got babies in the house. Let me see you do that for one day. Keep the house clean, laundry, meal prep, phone calls, and don't let one of them get sick.
Oh my goodness. Exactly. That is, and then all their activities. You know, my 2 boys, they were in all kinds of activities. And my children were raised in California, so I didn't have a family support system. We were paying $1,200 a month for childcare, so that I worked as well. Of course, the cost of living, you know. And I wanted to work. You know, I wanted to work, but it requires a lot being a woman. Oh, of course, I'm not complaining. I enjoy being a woman, but I know most men can't do what we do. And even if you have a male in the household, and I speak to my household, I didn't lead the household, but I led the household. I made sure I did all this grocery shopping for the whole family, the holiday shopping, clothes shopping for my husband, T-shirts, everything, shoes, clothes. At one point, he said to me, "You haven't bought me any T-shirts lately." Well, how was I supposed to know that you needed T-shirts? That's your job.
You know, as a result of that, we give life.
Yes.
We bring life into this world. Talking about from pain to power, that's a classic example.
Yes.
We bring life into this world.
Because you're always on mother duty. And when you have children, people think because they're 18, they're grown. When it comes to mine at 18, you're not grown, because I hear the word teen. You're grown when you're 21, or you're out of my home and you're financially independent. That's when you're grown in my household. And just because your children get a certain age, I'm not speaking of coddling my young men, because I have 2 sons. I'm speaking on their emotions. Just because they're 24, they're 28, they're 19, 7, 8, you still have emotions. And you still, as a mother and father, should be a part of their lives emotionally as well. And I tell my 2 young men, I don't parent you anymore, because one is almost 24 and one is 28. I coach you. I'm your coach. And they come to me for decisions. And what I do is I tell them, if it were me, this is what I would do. And I give them options, and then they make their decisions.
You know, speaking of what goes on in this house, and we're talking about from pain to power, and right now, listeners, we're on the pain portion. Our young men, they can fall down and be bleeding, and they be like, "Get up, you all right?" No, you're not all right.
No.
You're bleeding. They're hurt. Oh, you better be strong. You know, I had a conversation with a young lady over the weekend where her son was crying about a certain situation, and the father called him a fag because he was crying. And I was like, wow. First of all, I hate that word. But second of all, how in the world did you fix your mouth to call your own seed that? So we do so many things that mask pain. I can go back to the church for a second. It's a lot of people that mask pain there too. They dress up, put on their clothes because people been wearing masks before COVID. I'm going to say that again so you can get what I'm saying. People have been wearing masks before COVID. You couldn't see them, but there were masks there because it was a whole lot behind a smile.
Yes.
And you can tell with our suicide rates being as high as they are now, and people would be interviewing the neighbors and be like, wow, he looked like a nice man and he was smiling, always smiling, but he killed his whole family. It was a lot of pain behind that smile. We have so much more to deal with. We have access to many more things that could traumatize us. Internet, social media,
Yes.
cable. When I was growing up, there was 2, 4, 7, 9, 11, 13, 20, and 50. Those were the stations that we had. At 12 midnight, you got white noise. Everything went off the air with the national anthem, and it was just fuzz until 6 o'clock the next morning. We didn't have 3, 4, 5, 600 stations where you could just watch stuff happening all over the world at any time. You would have to read the newspaper to get that news, and it would only go as far out unless it was something that really made national headlines.
That's true.
But people have been wearing masks far before COVID. They have been masking their pain for many reasons. Some we have discussed here today. But then this transition takes place. And I believe that is when you've had enough. Now, as Tracey said, everybody's walk is different. So when someone's had enough, that looks different too. You know, so when survivors of domestic violence, and I hear people say, well, if I was them, I would have left, but you're not them. You haven't walked in those shoes. So you don't even know. And a lot of times we can anticipate things that we may or may not do in certain situations until you get in them. And I look at that with a lot of my policies and procedures at my agency. And it was funny. I had an audit last week, and the lady was like, she was reading my fire and business resumption plan. And she was like, I don't see anything that your staff is going to do in case of fire. I said, oh, well, to be honest, I'm going to get in my car and go home. I'm not filming nothing. I'm not recording. I'm going to get in my car so my car don't burn up, you know, because my parking lot is really close to my building. I'm going to leave out of my office. I'm the only one in that office. I have my assistant there. Most of our workers in the field. We're going to get in our cars and we're going to leave. Now, you want me to write a policy, and I will. But that's 9 times out of 10 not what I'm going to do if this building catches on fire. And that's the same parable I'm using in this situation. You always can say, well, if I were you, or if this happened to me, when you're outside looking in, you can make those type of decisions. But baby, in the heat of the moment, in that fight or flight response kicks in, you don't know what you're going to do for real.
You don't.
You do not know what you're going to do for real. You don't know how much you're really going to take. You really don't. You don't know how much you're going to really take. But one thing's for sure, and 2 things for certain. You're going to know when you have enough. You will know when you have enough. And I have a dear friend that's close to my heart, and we were talking about a situation that she was in a few years ago. And I was just very candid with her. It's nothing I can say to you but this. You will know when you had enough.
Wow. Powerful.
Nobody else will be able to tell you that. Things will not matter. You will walk out of a house with the clothes on your back when you've had enough. You're not going to care nothing about no furniture, whose house it is, how long you live there. You won't care about any of that. When you've had enough for real, you're going to want to start over. You're not going to even care about any of that stuff because you're not going to even want the memories or nothing of it. You're just going to want to leave all of that alone and go about your business. So you will know when you've had enough. Period. So Tracey, what was your turning point? When did you realize I've had enough and I have to do something different? Now, I heard you say you went back to school and you got your bachelor's degree and then you got your master's degree. But then at some point in time, you had to pivot to say, wait a minute, I'm tired of this. So when was that? Do you recall?
In reference to with my traumas, it's nine traumas. So it was different periods where I had enough. But in reference to the divorce, my ex-husband wanted the divorce, and we were roommates for a year and a half. So after being a roommate for a year and a half, one day I came down the stairs and I did a full circle in the center of the floor. I said, that's it, I'm done. And that was in February 2010. I went upstairs, moved all his things out of the room because he was shit, shave, and shower in the room, but sleep downstairs. So I said, that's it. I went down upstairs, took all his things, and put it in the room downstairs where he was sleeping. Made his clothes really nice, color coordinated, long sleeves, short sleeves, shoes in place, bathroom in place, really nice. But really what made me do that is because once he said he wanted a divorce, a year and a half prior, he never divorced me, but he was coming home later and later and later and not at all. But it was a recession. I was unemployed. I went to the courthouse in the city that we lived in, and I represented myself in court. And I had him served by a stranger, and that was my turning point for my divorce.
And like I said, you know when you've had enough. You can't anticipate.
Yes.
But you know, you get this feeling inside, and you know when you've had enough.
Yes. And in 2021, I hired a business coach. And she was asking me what things that I wanted to do, what type of business I wanted to. And I gave her all kinds of things that I wanted to do. But I didn't say create a personal development business. But that is what she suggested that I do. And I went all around circles for about 6 months, struggling with it. But after working with her for about 6 months, I finally agreed with her to tell my story and create a personal development business. And the name of my personal development business is Release Pain to Power. And I coach women how to release their pain and their anxieties caused by hardship and trauma. So that's the reason why I created that LLC, is because I had enough at that point. And I said, at this point, I'm an open book. So I coach women on acceptance, forgiveness, mindset, creating a plan, and just going to action.
Well, we're going to get a little bit more into that philosophy. You have been listening to the Real Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream. We're going to a musical break. And when we come back, Tracey's going to take us through a little bit more of her Release Pain to Power concept. We'll be right back.
'cause I know he loves me. I wanna show him that I love him too, with the things I do and keep his commands. We must understand, no matter what we're going through, it's all a part of God's plan. Yeah, he loved us so much that he gave his life for us, so that we can be saved and have life, live his life to the fullness. He gives us hope and peace, and peace to those who believe, so that we can live and be free and live eternally. God is so good, he's good, he's so good. God is so good, he's good, he's so good. God is so good, he's good, he's so good. God is so good, he's good, he's so good. God is so good, he's good, he's so good. God is so good, he's good, he's so good. God is so good, he's good, he's so good. He's so good. Feel it all in my soul. Feel it all in my soul. Yes. He's good, he's good, he's good, he's good. Hey, God is good.
And that was God is So Good by my warrior sister and friend, Tracey Duckworth. And God is so good. He helps us in many, many ways. And even if you don't believe in a God, if you believe in a power higher than yourself, or just straight karma, you know, what you put out there comes back. And so we're talking to Tracey Ilene, and before the musical break, we were talking about her Release Pain to Power LLC personal development business. And Tracey, so there were several things that you named. Can you break them down one by one and just give us a little definition of what that looks like when it comes to your concept?
Absolutely. And you said some key words. Everyone don't believe in God, but I believe in God. My Father God takes care of me, and you have to listen for your answers when you're praying. And I respect others and their faith and their beliefs, but I'm a Christian woman, and I definitely believe in God. Because if it wasn't for God, you and I wouldn't be talking. Besides the therapy sessions that I've gone through, my Father God has definitely taken care of my mental health and my physical health. But going back to Release Pain to Power, with Release Pain to Power, it's acceptance is one module that I teach, because you have to accept your trauma. And that's where I am at. I have accepted my trauma, and if not, you're still going to be in denial and feeling sorry for yourself, and why me, and why me, and why me. So this acceptance is first. Then you have to forgive yourself. And I've forgiven myself because I beat up myself. Did I do something wrong? What could I have done different? And the way family are looking at you, right? And then, believe it or not, as hard as it can be, the things that the people have done to you, you definitely have to forgive them. You can't hold on to that stress, because stress is the number one killer. You can't hold on to the stress at all. And you have to change your mindset. I've changed my mindset only because I become a mature woman. You know, being a young girl, going into adolescent, coming into my womanhood, you know, being a mother, being a wife, now being Tracey Ilene, I have matured. So I've changed my mindset, and it was the strength of God. And as I spoke on therapy, seeing a therapist was the best thing for me. In addition to that, coming up with a plan and how you're going to forgive, you're going to accept and change your mindset, and what plan works for you. Because a plan that worked for me may not work for another woman.
That's right. Everybody's journey is different.
Everyone has a story, and everyone's journey is different. Our paths are totally different.
And you have to get to the point, and I'm sure this is part of your concept, where it don't matter what anybody else think about what your plan is and what you're doing. It doesn't matter.
Because right now,
you have
to
to
this
put
day,
yourself first.
you have to put yourself first. Because to this day, I have some people that's mad at me now because I'm telling my story. But it's not about your story. They're looking at me as being little Tracey, a little girl. I'll be 58 years old in October. I'm a grown woman, very independent, mentally, physically,
Yeah, we senior
emotionally.
citizens. Hell, I'll
Right,
be 59.
right, and
We can get
emotionally,
egg whites for
yes.
$2 at Denny's.
Exactly. Exactly. So that mindset, I don't care. So that has helped me create my plan. My plan is I wanted to heal. I wanted to seek therapy. I wanted to get closer to God and not even care about what nobody else think. And then I just went into action.
Yeah, and when you shared over the break that you don't even consume alcohol, never consumed drugs or anything like that, but even stopped consuming alcohol, you weren't crutching on anything. You took that bull by the horns and decided that you were going to deal with everything. And that's awesome.
Thank you. Because alcoholism runs in our family on both sides. So I didn't want to become an alcoholic at all. And then I hired a trainer last year. So I'm like, that's defeating the purpose if I drink. And I've never been a big drinker. I didn't start drinking until I was 20, 19, 20. Even tried it until then. So yes, I made sure. And my action for myself is I changed my diet. Stop drinking. Not that I'm not going to go back to it. I was on vacation a few weeks ago and I was sipping a little bit, but I was designated driver, right? Um, Getting facials, body massages,
Self
spas,
care
all
in
that
every
self-care.
form.
Yes.
And I noticed you're a fellow concert head like me. So, you know, that's a form of self care too. People are like, oh, well, you always going here, going here, going here. To me, I don't look at it as going, it's therapeutic for me. To go to those concerts, a boxing match, a play, the symphony, or whatever, because I get a chance to escape. And as a little girl, I escaped through music and drawing and writing stories. And so I still have an escape. And to me, doing those things help you escape just for that moment.
Yes,
You know,
it's
you become
relaxation.
entrenched in where you are and absorbing that moment. And I just really, really appreciate that. But acceptance is right. Accept what has happened to you as part of your journey in life. And then creating that plan and then moving that plan into action.
Absolutely. And I enjoy being around people. I enjoy being out. And I actually love getting dressed. I love getting dressed. It makes me feel good. And I love getting out and being around people, learning different cultures, doing things that I didn't do as a little girl and in young adulthood because I couldn't afford it. I have many pairs of shoes, not because I just necessarily like spending money, but I didn't have a lot of shoes as a little girl. So I like different shoes. I like to dress up because it makes me feel good.
That self
Yes,
fulfillment is
absolutely.
important. And one thing that I have taken from you in this segment is you live for everyone else, your husband, your sons, or whatever, and you help them attain adulthood, and now you're just coaching them. This is sounds like the first time in your life that you got a chance to live for yourself
Yes.
and put yourself first and do what makes you happy. That must feel so liberating and free to just be able to do what you want to do. Even you now getting this job and, you know, advancing and people recognizing you for your skill set and acknowledging you and rewarding you for some
Yes.
accomplishments that you have made is phenomenal, because you have always, sounds like, lived for someone else, your sons, your husband. It's your time.
It's my time, and I adore it because I was the responsible one. I was the one, the matriarch of the family. And November 2021, I had a Thanksgiving dinner at my house, and I told everyone in the house, everybody was having a great time. I said, "Excuse me, family, listen, this will be the last big Thanksgiving meal that I cook.
Hmm.
Yes, I show you how to cook. You can go buy it. We can get in the kitchen together. But one on one, this is the last Thanksgiving meal. I cook sometimes if I choose to, and you ask me in advance.
But this is not a tradition. This tradition is being broken today.
Tradition being broken, I was done. I was tired of it. And after that, it felt so liberating to just live for myself. And earlier this year, my therapist asked me, she said, Tracey, do you have a plant? I said, no, I don't have a plant. She said, this is the first time in your adult life that you don't have any other responsibilities but yourself. I love it. Cooking, washing, cleaning. I know how to do all of that. But it's a chore now. If I want to, because I have to do it because it's just for myself. But it feels so good that I don't have any other responsibilities.
So she asked you, did you have a plant?
Yes, she asked me did I plant, and I told her no because I don't want to take care of a plant.
That's what I was thinking. Like, I don't even want to water a plant.
I don't even want to water a plant.
I don't want to do anything.
No. I was at a work event earlier this year, and there were beautiful plants on the table. Everyone took a plant. I gave that plant to my girlfriend. I'm like, you're not coming home with me because I don't want to take care of you. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. So you're right. This is the first time in my life that I have no responsibilities. And the best part about it, my two young men, they understand it.
That's good.
And that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that matters.
That's awesome.
They have accepted me for where I am right now today.
So if there are young women listening, well, before I get to that point, if you could talk to your younger self, what would you say to little Tracey? That little girl, what would you say to her?
That's powerful. And there's a lot of things that I'll say to that little girl, that when those things were happening to you as a young girl, you didn't have to accept. When those things are happening to you as a young woman, you didn't have to accept. But I accepted them. So forgive yourself as I have today. But a family member talked me out of going to the military, which I really wanted to go to the military. I regret it and I wish I would have. I would have told myself, go to the military. And I would have not gotten married nor have children because I helped raise my siblings as a 12-year-old girl. So I never wanted to get married nor have children. But I did it for my ex-husband. I would have listened to myself and never did that. But I love my children today.
I understand.
Absolutely.
I know you do.
Those are the things that I would tell myself. And go and travel the world in the military and get your education and pursue your life. Because at that point, I had taken care of siblings. I don't want to take care of nobody else. Mm-hmm. But of course, fell in love. Husband convinced me to have children, had the marriage, and life happened. And now, on the other side, it's all about me. I wish I would have had more time with the younger Tracey.
Yeah, that's profound. I was like you too, just too responsible early on, and I didn't have children. I got my tubes tied to ensure that I didn't have children. And so when I hear people say, "Oh, you can't get your tubes tied and you don't have any kids," like, yes, you can. I'm a witness, But I get exactly what you're saying. To travel the world and to just live for you.
Exactly, because I was married at age 23, but I was with my ex-husband from age 19 to 45. I gave up my prime life for someone. And he wanted a divorce for the things that he did. And then when I found out the things that he was doing, the affairs, then I started having affairs. But we were taught, turn your head. Don't get a divorce. Mm-hmm. That's how we were taught.
Because grandma would take a lot. But then back then also grandma wasn't working and didn't have the education and stuff like that. Because one of my grandmothers told me, don't get in a relationship you can't afford to get out of.
Ooh. Okay.
Don't
Okay.
get in a relationship that you can't afford to get out of.
Or don't get into a relationship and you think, that's the advice I would give the girls today. We think we can change them. They who they are. You can compromise, but you can't change a person. And that's a mistake that I made. And since I've been divorced, that's a mistake that I made several times. But now I'm single and I'm not in a relationship at all, and I'm not settling anymore.
Yeah. You know, a man or a woman will change when they want to under the right situations. I dated a guy once, and I know they were like, "Oh, you dating him? He beat the crap out of girls, and he ain't gonna put his hands on me." I got 9 reasons why he not gonna put his hands on me.
Okay.
He will be shocked. But that's me.
Right.
Another woman might not have it in her to do that. And I'm not against anyone who doesn't have it in them to do that. But for me, I can't handle it. So every relationship is different.
Absolutely.
My allergies are kicking in. Marquise, can you take us to a musical break? Let me get myself together.
Mom, Dad, me and Laura was thinking,
Thinking what?
someday, will we have a better future?
Someday. Lately is more than a wise series.
De gente, andamos en guerra uno con otro y todavía tenemos mucho trabajo que hacer. Pero un día sueño que juntamos unidos como uno.
Here I am trying to understand. Why can't we be happy?
If love is the key to everything that we need, why can't we be happy?
Someday will come.
Someday will come.
It will come together.
As one.
Some days will test my faith with adversity all in my face. But I do believe someday will change.
Oh, just think about your life when there was no clothes to wear, little food to eat,
Living off the streets, someday will come. Just believe. Would you please help me? Someday will come. Yes, it will.
Come together.
Come together.
many hearts broken, so many confused, so many people hurting, so many abused. Tell me, how can I literally change the world when I really can't spend time with every boy and girl? I say,
All right, you are listening to Someday by music extraordinaire Millard Thomas Jr., my cousin who I adore and love. And you should download some of his music on iTunes. He has a gospel jazz album on there, and it's spectacular. And I'm not just saying that because he's my cousin. The music is really good. That was the perfect track that the engineers selected. Someday Will Come. Because that day will come. As Tracey said, when she was in her living room and she did that circle and she knew she had enough. Your day will come where you know you will have had enough of life's circumstances and what is going on with you, and you will release that pain into power. And if you need help doing so, Tracey is available. So she is going to give you information on how you can get in touch with her, what coaching sessions with her are like, and you can see from this show tonight her testimony and her journey, and she can lead you into being just as triumphant. So Tracey, give them a little bit more information about Release Pain to Power.
Release Pain to Power. I coach women how to release their pain and anxieties caused by hardship and trauma. And I decided, of course, because I am a woman and based on my own personal life journey, that's why I chose that target audience, because I would like to help women to get to where I am today. From being, to make it, releasing all their pain, to where I am, to generating, creating your power, and become a girl boss. Mentally, physically, emotionally, and talk about their healing process and self-care and self-love.
So is there a website or somewhere that they can get more information about Release Pain to Power?
Yes. I may be reached at releasepaintopower.com. Also, you can email me at Tracey@releasepaintopower.com, and that's Tracey. So Tracey@releasepaintopower.com and releasepaintopower.com. And on my website, releasepaintopower.com, there's 14 questions, and they're very brief questions. You will complete those 14 questions, and it gives me a brief understanding about yourself and what your interests may be. And then you will submit them, I will review them, and I will reach back to you to make sure the services that I offer and are good for you, and we are a match. And as I just said, it's about, I created this personal development business because of my life journey, but it's not about me. It's about you as a woman, your life journey. And it is a healing process for you. So it's not based on a medical standpoint. It's based on your life journey. I'll offer private sessions, and I'll also offer group sessions. I am working on releasing a webinar, so then that will be individuals sessions and group sessions as well. And all my sessions are confidential. So if you're interested in reaching out to me, I would love to talk to you as well. Just go on to releasepaintopower.com, fill out the questionnaire, and we'll have a great conversation. A Judge Freeman zone.
That's awesome. That's awesome for you to be able to take your life experience and your life journey and help someone else, because I always say I rise when I lift others. And if you're rising and you can't lift anybody else up with you, not everybody, some people dead weight. I'm not talking about the dead weight people,
Right.
but I'm saying to just at least reach back and try to grab the hand of someone else. You know, that's what we should be doing. Each one reach one. And that's very important to do. So I salute and respect you for even taking your successes and turning them into a personal development business, because it's often kids and adults alike have people that they have admiration for and want them, that's my mentor, they don't even know how to access these people. Most of them are not even obtainable. They don't know their number, can't call. I can't call Oprah.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So to be able to have someone that you can access that has been triumphant over some of the most traumatic things and all of the things that you listed, my goodness, suicidal ideation, transition of a sibling, divorce, molestation. I mean, it's not, you've been shot. Like, it wasn't one thing. I can't think of anything else that you could have possibly, like, I think you've been through it all.
And been homeless.
Wow. So
And
you've been
homeless.
through it all.
Yes, as an adult and a young girl. And being homeless. Now reinventing myself. Yes.
Baby, in a big way.
Yes.
In a big way. Moving through those ranks, that the way that you're moving through them, at the end of the day, because you said you believe in a power higher than yourself and you call it God, so do I. And I believe that that was just part of the design.
Yes.
That was part of the design. You know your assignment now and your purpose. And you release that into the release pain to power to be able to help others. And that shows healing. Because for you to be able to sit and talk about all of these things that you talked about tonight and didn't even break down. I'm not saying it's not still painful. But a lot of times when we try to tell our story, it'll break us and we'll cry, you know, because that pain hasn't been released to the degree that we can't cry. It's so emotional and it's heavy. But you have gone through and healed to the degree that you can talk about this.
Absolutely.
And not even break all the way down. That is amazing.
Thank you. And there's another side of it for me as well. As you're speaking of, yes, I'm a Christian woman. I believe in God. And with my sister transition, her daughter came to me one day and said, Auntie, do you remember my mom's voice? I'm like, yes, I remember your mom's voice. She said, I don't remember mom's voice. And in my room to this day, I have a sanctuary corner on a nightstand, and I have my sister's obituary, and I have my best friend, his obituary, and I have candles, and I have Psalms 23 open. And every day when I get up, hey, sister, hey, brother, you know, I'm leaving out the house, I'll be back, that kind of thing. That makes me feel good.
Yeah, that's
right?
a ritual for you, yeah.
It's my ritual, right? My sister came to me one night and said to me, Tracey, I want you and others to hear my voice and hear other people's voices. So I created an app, a mobile app called Heavenly Connects. Heavenly Connects is a sacred space. It's not a website, it's a mobile app. Well, it will allow you to upload your deceased loved ones' voice messages, their text messages, their obituaries, all the memorabilia, things that you're saving in your phone. You can upload those into a sacred space. So then I got a little more creative with it, because everyone needs someone, especially when you're grieving, because we all grieve differently. So there will be a part of this app, a social media part, where you can connect with other people who are grieving, and then you can build those relationships besides just your family members. Thirdly, there will be a resource section to the app that will allow people to advertise their services, therapists, psychiatrists, funeral home directors, cemeteries, florists, obituary provider, all those different resources, life insurance, financial services, all those different services will be offered within the app. So it's going to be 3 different parts. You upload your deceased loved ones, voicemail, text messages, all the memorabilia, social media, and the resource side. And the name of it is Heavenly Connects, and it's in the demo mode right now, so it should release soon.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Yes. Yes.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with my listeners before we leave the show?
Whether you decide to reach out to me, Tracey Ilene, and look on my website for Release Pain to Power to find out who I am and what services I offer, whether it's me or anyone else, please invest in your mental health. Whether you seek a psychiatrist, a therapist, a counselor, any of those titles, a personal development life coach like myself, know who you are from a spiritual side. You have to heal emotionally, physically, mentally. You have to heal, because if not, it will definitely be generational curse. And that's what I didn't want for my young men. And actually, to be honest with you, when my son turned 21, I told both of my sons my life story, because God forbid something happens to me, I want it to be told by me. So it's nothing that's left out that I'm gone and someone is telling my story. So I will leave it at this. Please take care of yourself with some self-love, self-care. I give facials once a month. I do many facials daily. I get body massages. In addition to that, I hired a trainer last year. So I'm taking care of myself physically, and hopefully able to find your church home, maybe not, but worship online as well. Some type of books to read to take care of your mental health.
It's interesting that you said books, because I see a book coming.
Well, my book is already written in my head.
Or a movie.
The movie is written in my head. I would love to hire a ghostwriter because I'm dyslexic. And the best time for me to write is at night. But I would love to find a ghostwriter. So maybe there's some ghostwriters out there.
So if you're a ghostwriter out there and you would like to take on this project, well, what I want to say is thank you. Thank you for trusting me with your story. But actually, I was spirit-led. I don't know. I saw you on Facebook, and I can't remember what you were saying or whatever, but that's when I reached out. I wasn't unfamiliar because, we're concert heads.
Right,
so I would run
concert
into
heads,
you at
yes.
Shane Park and stuff like that. So, we had that familiarity there, and I actually introduced myself to you and Anita at that time.
Yes.
But this was different, and that's when I reached out to you. And so thank you for obliging and coming here today to share your story. Those are some very personal things that you shared, and I appreciate that. I know what you said will help somebody else. And that's what I like about having these platforms, because people have the opportunity to listen in the privacy of their own homes, whether it's on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, Buzzsprout. This show is all over. They will have the opportunity to listen in the privacy of their homes and know that they can make it.
Absolutely.
You are not alone. You are loved, and you are not forgotten. So with that being said, we're going to close out tonight's show. From pain to power. Tracey, thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate the sisterhood and allow me to tell my story. Thank you.
You're welcome. This door is open. You can come anytime.
I'm coming back.
Well, you can come back. I would be more than happy to have you. So you have been listening to the Real Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, where I don't spill any tea or try to make you feel dazed like you drunk a shot of cheap liquor. I just want you to see things from another perspective. And tonight, it was the perspective of Tracey Ilene. Stay tuned. I got more coming at you next week. Have a great night. So long.